Good morning, children. Today we learn a new poem, The Garden Within by Celia Beryl. This poem comes under the theme Humanity from Unit 3. What is humanity? As you all know, humanity means to be humane. That means showing kindness, mercy, sympathy, and love towards your fellow beings. Yes, you should have love in your heart. If you can love others in the same way as you love yourself, then a beautiful garden grows in your heart. This is what the poetess is saying in this poem. Before going to the poem, let's have a look at the glossary. In fits and starts, in a sudden and irregular manner. Petal, a delicate colored part of a flower. Bestowed, gave. Bowers, a pleasant place in the shade of tree. Nutritious, good. Reaps, gives. Spirit, inner feelings or mood. Gratitude, thankfulness. Goal, something that you hope to achieve. Children, now let me recite the poem for you. The Garden Within. There is a garden in my heart where beauty grows in fits and starts, where smiles are petals from the flowers bestowed by others from their boughs. Nutritious hope reaps seeds to feed my spirit for its every need. With gratitude, I'll reach my goal to touch the island of my soul. Children, now see the rhyming words in this poem. Heart, start. Flowers, bars. Feed, need. Goal, soul. Now, let's look into the meaning of the poem. The poetess says that there is a garden in her heart where beauty grows in fits and starts, and she compares smiles with petals. She nourishes her smiles with nutritious hope. I think you all have understood this. That means whenever you want something, whenever you want to do something or achieve something, you should have hope in your heart. If you hope good, then you will get better results. Even in this poem, the poetess wants the same. That means if she smiles at someone, she will also get the same reaction from the opposite person. And she wants to reach her goal with thankfulness. Because whatever the work you do, you have to show gratitude towards that work. By doing this, it will touch your soul. Here, the soul of the poetess is compared with beautiful garden. So children, try to do your work with hope and show gratitude to whatever the work you are doing. Then even a beautiful garden grows in your heart also. Children, now look at the summary of the poem. The poetess finds that there is a garden in her heart. Like the gardener who lovingly tends his garden for the pleasures of bloom, the poetess nourishes the memories because they comfort her soul. In the garden of her heart, beauty doesn't grow continuously. She wants to give her smiles to others like the petals of the flowers in the garden of her heart. Then the others will respond in the same way and respect her feelings. There is a good hope in her, and it results in good seeds to comfort her spirit. She wants to reach her goal with thankfulness, and it will touch her soul. Here, the soul of the poetess is compared with beautiful garden. Now, look at the comprehension. Answer the following questions. First question. What is the central idea of the poem? The central idea of the poem is love and gratitude. There is a garden in poet's heart. She wants to tend it beautifully with smile, hope, and gratitude to reach her goal. Second question. What features of the garden in the poet's heart are mentioned in stanza 1? The feature of the garden in the poet's heart that is mentioned in stanza 1 is that beauty grows in fits and starts. Third one. What is the mood of the poet? The mood of the poet is to be hopeful. Fourth question. Explain the word gratitude as used in the poem. Gratitude means thankfulness. The poetess wants to be thankful to achieve her goal, and it will comfort her soul. In this reading segment, we have one more topic, that is comparison. You have seen that the poetess comparing her soul with a beautiful garden. Children, in general, will you compare like this? No. But there are some people who are poetic. They have great imagination power and they do compare like this. Let us see now how many types of comparisons are there artistically. Here we have three types of comparisons. They are simile, metaphor, and personification. Let us see what simile is. Simile. When you compare someone or something using like and as, you call it as a simile. See the examples. He roared like a lion. See, children, in this, he is the subject. What did he do? He roared. How did he roar? Like a lion. So, here we are comparing the subject with another element, that is lion. The roar of a lion. So, you call it as a simile. Likewise, next example. Her face is as white as snow. How is her face? As white as snow. Third one. He is as big as a giant. How is the person? Very big. Very big, like a giant. She is as strong as an ox. You see many bodybuilders? Not only men, even women also, there are bodybuilders. So, how is that lady here? She is as strong as an ox. They fought like cats and dogs. They means some people. There are some people. They are fighting with each other. How are they fighting? Like cats and dogs. So, children, did you understand now what is simile? That means when you compare someone or something with like and as, then it becomes a simile. Let us go to the next topic, that is metaphor. What is metaphor? It is used to describe or compare and to show that the two things have the same qualities. They make the description more powerful. For example, the snow is a white blanket. You all know snow, children? How is the snow generally? It's white in color. And here we are comparing it with blanket because it means that the snow is in a very thick form. Going to the next example. Her long hair was a flowing golden river. Flowing golden river. Have you seen a river flowing, children? During sunrise or sunset time, when the river is flowing, the rays will fall on the water and it appears as if it is golden in color. So her long hair is like that. Next example. Rudramadevi was a lioness in battle. You all know Rudramadevi? So she fought in a battle like a lioness. How the lion will fight? In the same manner, Rudramadevi fought in the battle. She is a school Shakuntala Devi. So who is Shakuntala Devi? The great mathematician. Yes, children? So she means some student in your school. So that means you are comparing the intelligence of that girl with Shakuntala Devi. Her home was a prison. How is her home? Like a prison. Prison means jail. So you are comparing the home with prison. Life is a journey. What is life, children? Can you describe life? No. But here the poet is describing, or you can say it is described as a journey. Life is a journey. Yeah, okay, children? Coming to the next topic, personification. What do you mean by personification? When we compare the personal nature or human characteristics with something non-human, it is called as personification. Means something non-human, that means non-living things. You are comparing the nature, the behavior of a living thing with a non-living character. That is called as personification. Let us see the examples. The stars danced playfully in the moonlit sky. See here, who danced here? Stars danced. Can stars dance, children? No, but we are comparing. That means stars are dancing in the sky. So, dancing is applicable to the living things. Means only living things can do that activity. But here stars are not movable, but still they are dancing, it seems. So we are comparing them. This is called personification. The wind howled in the night. Howled. Who will howl generally? The living things. Who howled here? Wind. So you are personifying wind with the living thing. So this is one more example for personification. Take the other two examples here. The camera loves her since she is so pretty. The moon smiled at the stars in the sky. Okay, children? I think you have understood what are the types of comparison here in this segment. Now, do the worksheet given below. That's all for today, children. Have a nice day.